I actually didn't heal the cancer. The cancer healed me. And we are all seeking to heal the thing. But the thing is actually here to heal us. And I know, Dr. Erin, you are a firm believer in that, and you speak to that as well. But that was a quote that fell out of my mouth, like I don't know where from, except I knew that it was the truth. And it was very scary to say that. But I very fully embrace it. And when I'm working with people, that is very much what I believe. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So I didn't heal the cancer, really, truly did heal me in ways that I could never have imagined, in ways that I could never have let my mind even put together.
So the big question is this. We know spontaneous remissions and so-called miracle cures exist. We also know they aren't so spontaneous after all. I'm living proof of this, having cured my quote-unquote incurable illness. There's something to how this happens. So how do we, as humans with chronic symptoms, tap into this so-called miraculous healing capacity? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Dr. Erin Hayford, and welcome to the Sacred Illness Podcast. Before we begin today's episode, just my standard medical disclaimer. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. The content should not be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical concerns. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Illness Podcast. I'm very excited today for my guest. We were just chatting before I hit record about her journey and her experience. And I just know this episode is going to be so powerful and so important and exactly what some of you or a lot of you need to hear. So my guest today is Shenal Arimilli. She's in Austin, Texas, here in the States with me. Shenal is an internationally recognized transformational expert, spiritual alchemist, keynote speaker, and a best-selling author. So she has 3 published books, and we're going to talk about another one that's coming up, which I'm excited to hear about. And she's known for awakening individuals and organizations to their power to create anything. Her groundbreaking approach integrates science and spirituality, providing practical tools for deep-rooted healing and transformation. Shenal has a background in quantum physics, neuroscience, physiology, and psychology. Shenal bridges logic with intuition through her experiences, and that helps her audiences, and it's going to help all of you listening to break free from that limiting perspective of what's possible and step into a reality of infinite possibilities. Shenal has a history with cancer, 3-time survivor. So she is really, truly the embodiment of resilience, empowerment, and she proves through her story, through her work, through her journey that anything is possible. Her work has been featured on Amazon Prime's Speak Up, Forbes, ABC, NBC, Fox, Yahoo Finance, and beyond. She has shared her message and expertise on international stages, podcasts, and radio shows. And I feel so honored to have you here today to share your message with us as well. So welcome, Shenal. Thank you again so much for being here. I can't wait for our conversation today.
Oh, Dr. Erin, you are amazing. First of all, thank you for that very sweet welcome. And thank you for the work you do, because I honestly was very touched. I'm not on social media a ton, but I was very drawn to what you share in the world. And it's very much aligned with what I believe. And so when people can hear this, not from one person, but for many, many people now that are awakening to a new way of living. And it's really new, but it's really actually old.
Right.
It's the truth that's existed that we've lost touch with. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm so excited about today.
That's exactly it. This is a reclamation of what we know, what we come into this world knowing, but that we lose very quickly because of culture, programming, etc. So I'd love to hear where we start with your story. I always say to people, wherever it makes sense to kick things off.
Well, thank you. I really did set an intention, and we chatted about this earlier, that there's a lot of things that I can share. I know there's a lot of things that you and I can both talk about. But I think what's most important is that somebody on the other end is listening and hearing something that will really touch their heart, their soul, and create a shift within them, because that's really my goal, is to inspire that shift, not just to give more information, but to actually create a transformation. And so I'm going to start with life is not a straight line. And for anyone who's listening, if you're just willing to let life kind of take you through its course and let go of the resistance to it and begin shifting the way we see life and the way we connect to life and to our body and to everything in our life, what can unfold are the miracles that we co-create. We all have the capacity. So if anyone is listening and waiting for that miracle, don't wait, go co-create it. Be the active participant in your transformation. And so I'm going to start with I am healthier and happier than I've ever been in my life. But I didn't arrive in that straight line. It was painful and it was long, but it was well worth the journey. Now, it doesn't have to be painful and long for everyone, but I want to be honest so that if there is someone who is tired because they've been through this and it's not working and nothing is working, there is absolutely not just hope, but the possibility to have a new reality. So I am well and I am healed. And I say that cautiously because I think we're always healing, but it doesn't mean we're always digging deep and doing hard work. It just means that if we're open, we're always going to evolve. But I am here, and this is rooted in science. My background is in science, but my healing came when all the science that I understood wasn't working. It pushed me to go deeper. So let me flash back a little bit to an old personality of mine because it's what had to heal in order for my body to heal. And I'd love to share this quote. It's a bit tough to digest when you're in the throes of an illness, but I want people to get shaken up a little. I could only say this on the other side of my own healing. And that was that I actually didn't heal the cancer. The cancer healed me. And we are all seeking to heal the thing. But the thing is actually here to heal us. And I know, Dr. Erin, you are a firm believer in that, and you speak to that as well. But that was a quote that fell out of my mouth, like I don't know where from, except I knew that it was the truth. And it was very scary to say that. But I very fully embrace it. And when I'm working with people, that is very much what I believe. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So I didn't heal the cancer, really, truly did heal me in ways that I could never have imagined, in ways that I could never have let my mind even put together. So I was diagnosed at a very early stage of breast cancer, stage 1. It was encapsulated, and it should have just been a very simple surgery and done. Well, I wanted to not do the surgery right away because I wanted to explore, like, well, if this happened, then maybe something in my physical body was not as clean.
Yeah.
It was maybe some toxicity. So I went and got my mouth cleaned out. I got any amalgams removed. I got root canals removed. I got my wisdom teeth. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff to help unload my body before I went and did a lumpectomy. But that lumpectomy didn't give me clear margins. So for those who are dealing with cancer, they'll understand that terminology that, there's a clear margin, meaning that they got it all. It didn't make sense because it was just stage 1. So I just said, well, okay, they did the lumpectomy. They didn't get it all, whatever that means, microscopic cells. So I'm going to do everything possible to clean up this already very healthy body. I decided in that moment when I was diagnosed that I would no longer eat sugar, gluten, dairy, soy, no alcohol, no caffeine. I don't even know what I was eating. But anyway, I went super clean and I went into deep detox. So what I'm wanting to share with the listeners is that I did everything physical that anyone could humanly possibly do to heal. And I say this when I'm speaking that I think I was cleaner than 98% of the population on planet Earth. The cleanest diet, I was lean, I exercised, I was in my early 40s, so young. I should have healed, but it wasn't working. A year later, it came back And now I was more scared. I had not done the chemotherapy initially. I had done everything natural and integrative, like lumpectomy. So I used surgery at that time, but I was not going to do what they had recommended, which was a bilateral mastectomy. I mean, I had stage 1 cancer, a bilateral mastectomy and, chemotherapy and radiation because I had a family history. My mother and grandmother died of cancer. My mother died at 54 of ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed at 53, died at 54, very young. She was vegetarian, never drank, never smoked. So then what killed her? What happened? Why did this happen? And my grandmother, also on the maternal side, had breast cancer. So when I was diagnosed in my early 40s, every generation was diagnosed 10 years earlier, roughly.
Wow.
And I was in early 40s. So of course, now the medical model would say you have a genetic predisposition and we need to take full bore action. And I'm never saying anything that is bad or wrong about the system, but I am saying that we have to open up and really understand that there's more than what we hear sometimes. And so even though it was a stage 1 breast cancer, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of statistics that were placed. And then there was the desire to do everything. And I said, no, I'm not going to do everything. But when I had the first recurrence, I did go back and do some chemotherapy. I did insulin potentiated therapy, IPT, which is done worldwide, but I had to find somebody in Texas who was doing this, and we paid out of pocket. And it's low dose chemotherapy that's done with insulin. So, I was seeking alternatives. I was doing the best that I could. Still, I'm working on the level of the body.
Yep.
Okay, so I want everyone to hear that. I'm still working at the physical level, the physical mouth, the physical surgery, the low dose chemotherapy to help my body to heal. And then a few treatments into that chemotherapy, which was low dose. No one's supposed to lose their hair. No one's supposed to have low blood counts, but I had all of it.
Wow.
So clearly something was telling me something. At that moment, I was like, what is this something? Is there some God outside of me that's telling me to stop? But then what do I do? That recurrence led me to dig a little deeper because I couldn't be eating cleaner. I couldn't do any more juice fasting, detoxing. I mean, I was doing homeopathy. I was doing Ayurveda. I was eating only organic, and I was having recurrences. And we're going somewhere with this story because there are people who can do physical things and heal. And I don't want people to think that that's not possible. But for many of us, it's deeper than that. So if anybody is having a symptom that is not resolving, it doesn't have to be cancer, it could be any symptom, then it's important for them to understand that it means there's something more beyond what's at the level of the body that's contributing to the creation here. And I think that's really important. I'm going to pause on the physical piece because I think this is also important. I feel like my life's work is to help people understand that it doesn't matter what the symptom is. The symptom is a messenger, but the symptom isn't always in the body. Sometimes the symptom is in the mind. Sometimes the symptom is in an emotional breakdown. Sometimes the symptom is physical. Sometimes the symptom is in a bank account. Sometimes the symptom is in a relationship with a partner or with a child or with a parent, but it's a symptom. It's something that doesn't feel right. It's something that hurts, and it could be it hurts because our bank account is low, but it's a symptom. So anytime there is a symptom in your life, there is a calling. And any calling is not because you deserve punishment and you deserve suffering. That calling is a calling back to our greatness. So I feel like every symptom anywhere in our life, physical, emotional, relational, financial, is truly the gateway to our greatness. And so we're talking about illness, of course, but I know that most people who have illness usually have other challenges in there because the illness is the result of other things that are misaligned internally. Everything can heal when we allow a symptom to be met, not as the problem, but as the solution. So when things were not working and I couldn't really do anything more physical, it was like, what is going on? And I had my second recurrence. I knew it was time now. I was a few years into my journey. My journey from start to completely being cancer-free was 11 years long.
Wow.
I laugh about this, but I know it's not funny for those who are in it. But if we can laugh a little bit through our healing, it's so helpful. We all have heard about the dark night of the soul for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm speaking, I'm always talking about the dark decade of the soul. For me, it was a dark decade. And for many people, it's not a dark night.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling that things are not getting better in a night or in a week or in a month, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the calling for super deep healing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know you know this, we're speaking the same language. So I had a dark decade, not a dark night. And when things weren't working physically, I still stayed true to taking care of my body and not putting toxins in my body as much as I could while I was trying to figure out what the heck this was really doing. What was this calling for me? Well, I had the genetic testing done and it was negative. Even though my mom had ovarian cancer, my grandmother had breast cancer, I tested negative at that time. And what I came to understand through the second half of my healing journey, the first half was very physical, the second half was very spiritual, a lot about consciousness, about understanding trauma, understanding patterns, survival, etc. What I really understood is this wasn't happening to me. This was really happening not even for me, but actually as me. I was the co-creator of this healing journey, and I didn't understand what that meant at the time. But I was being called to go deeper and to understand that I can't heal just doing the physical. So I started searching deeper and exploring what is spirituality, what is consciousness. People would throw out those words. People would say, just love yourself and you'll heal. And I'm like, but that sounds so nice. But wait a minute. What does that mean? What is self-love? So that too, I've come to understand what is truly always evolving. But there was a pivotal time in my life where I knew I had to move beyond the physical into the spiritual. So I started searching. That's when I started to understand quantum physics and the mind-body connection and how the human physiology, which is my background, and physical therapy, which is the body, how all of that really works in conjunction with the rest of the stuff, which is with our thoughts, our beliefs, our patterns, our traumas, our emotions. And it was at that time that I started realizing that I still didn't know enough. I was ravenous for learning and researching, but it was also for my own healing. At that moment in time, I didn't know that this is going to become my life's work, that I wasn't going to do corporate healthcare, that I wasn't going to be a physical therapist, that this was my calling back to who I was supposed to be in this lifetime and what I was here to do. Probably much like you, what we're supposed to be teaching, what we're supposed to be sharing, how we're supposed to be living. And so I started understanding energy. There's this thing we call medicine, and then there's this big category called energy medicine. So let me dismantle that a little bit. Everything is energy medicine. Everything. So the doctors that give a pill, they're giving molecular energy to you. It's just a denser molecular energy that you consume.
Mm-hmm.
It's medicine. It's still energy. So when people say, oh, you do energy healing, I was like, wait, listen, no. We all are working in a field of energy. It's just different wavelengths and frequencies of energy, but it's still energy. So any doctor, and I work with a lot of doctors, I have a lot of clients that are actually physicians, and they are also having to reformulate within their own mind, body, and soul the truth. Like, what is the truth? So everything in the universe is energy. That is just now a science. We can't even deny that. Everything is energy. Well, if everything is energy, that means your DNA is energy. So then are you genetically predisposed or are you energetically predisposed? You're energetically predisposed. meaning unhealed patterns from our ancestors that we've adopted are just energy that hadn't been transmuted yet. And we might be the lucky one that has the gift of being able to do that level of transmutation, of changing old patterns so that our life and the lineage after us and the world around us can heal as well. So it's a gift. It truly is a gift to go through this, right? So my understanding of energy became very prominent. Like I started, and I don't want to bore people with physics because that doesn't interest me as well. But what's important is everything is energy. Every cell is energy. And what we know about energy is it can't be created or destroyed, but it can be changed from one state to another. And I love metaphors. So an ice cube, for example, is what I feel sits inside of all of us, ice cubes that are not dissolved. And so if we imagine opening a freezer and we see a bunch of ice cubes, that's what's inside of us. And we say, oh yeah, I see it. And then we close the freezer door. Nothing's changed. We see the energy of the ice cube. It's in the freezer as it is. Well, people talk about their patterns and their past like that. Oh yeah, I know. I grew up with that. Oh yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, that's what my parents did. It's like opening a freezer door, looking at the ice cube and closing the freezer door. Nothing has changed except that we saw it. Seeing it is so important, but those ice cubes inside of us represent our unhealed traumas, our unprocessed emotions, our patterns that we adopted from others in this lifetime, our ancestral patterns that were energetically transferred into our DNA at conception, our soul level things that we may have come into this lifetime with, because energy can't be destroyed. Well, if it can't be destroyed, then there's something we have to change. So those same ice cubes that are sitting in the freezer inside of us, same thing. If we actually take the ice cube out, what happens? Instantaneously, we start holding that emotion. We start feeling into what that trauma was about. It's like taking the ice cube out of the freezer and instantaneously it begins to shift. Everything in our body does the same, but we've not been taught to believe that. We've been taught that there is a problem and it needs to be fixed. No, it needs to be shifted. It just needs shifting. And so that same ice cube that was cold, dense, hard, that was stuck in the freezer, when we finally take it out, take something out from within us, and we be with it and we heal it, it turns to water. And then that water, if we were to heat that same water, it would evaporate, right? And now we would say it's gone. So if people wonder, well, what do you mean soul level stuff? What if I don't believe in past lives? You don't have to believe in past lives to heal. But if energy can't be created or destroyed, and the entire universe is energy, and the entire of our being and body is energy, it's like the ice cube that turned to water, that turned to gas, and we can't see it. So we think it's gone. So when somebody passes away, we think they're gone. But energy can't be destroyed. So when that ice cube turns to gas and then it rains again, it's just coming back in a different form. So we move through these states of existence. Some of our illness isn't just what we did in this lifetime. And people struggle, like thinking, what have I done wrong? I've done everything right. Why do I deserve this? Do I not belong here? No, none of that is true. We may have carried that energy with our soul forward to heal, and we may have accumulated some of that in our DNA from our ancestors. So I call it the wishbone of healing. We've got ancestral energy that comes in, we've got soul level energy that comes in, and then we've got this lifetime of energy. And when things are not healing easily, it means there's something deeper that is seeking healing along that wishbone. But what's so cool about this is we don't have to understand all the details of the science behind it. We just have to understand it is science, but it's also deeply spiritual, is that energy can change, period. Like if a rock, which is energy, over time, when the waves hit up against it, it's changing. And when the wind hits up against it, it's changing. And if a rock can change, oh my goodness, we're not that dense. We can heal, we can change. And it's so incredible when we start working with our body at not just a physical level, but at a spiritual level, at a consciousness level. And we start dissolving this illusion that everything is separate. Like my mind is separate from my body. The physical healing is separate from my spiritual life. My emotions are separate from my thoughts. Everything is so integrated. And when we start remembering that we've never been separate, we start dissolving that separation like there's some God outside of us versus maybe an intelligence and a God presence everywhere in us, outside of us. We start to align internally with our ability to heal the body, the bank account, the relationships. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, it's the whole shifting of energy, shifting of thoughts, shifting of patterns, not just seeing it, shifting it. It's so different to see something and to know something than it is to actually shift it and to transform it. And that's where the healing happens. Like, it's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind blowing.
Hey, Sacred Illness listeners, Dr. Erin here. If the stories on this podcast have stirred something in you, if you're hearing these conversations and thinking, that feels true for me too, then this message is for you. You know by now that illness is not a random malfunction. It's a message. It's a call. It's a sacred, if not difficult, invitation to remember who you really are. But hearing the paradigm is one thing, walking the path yourself is another. Where do you even begin? How do you translate that knowing into a daily practice? How do you move from listening to the message of your symptoms to actually understanding it step by step and learning how to heal with it? That is exactly why I created the Sacred Illness community. It's a living, guided container for those who are ready to answer the call of their own body. This is where the philosophy becomes a map, where you move from insight to integration. Inside, you'll find my full Sacred Illness blueprint. This is a 9-chapter journey that guides you through the mythic stages of illness as initiation. It weaves together the somatic education, nervous system science, and deep self-inquiry we talk about here on the podcast. But it's more than a course. It's a community. It's a place for growth, not just commiseration. You'll have access to live events, somatic yoga, intuitive eating courses, and a library of EFT and self-hypnosis tracks, and a forum to connect with others who are speaking this same language of the body. This is for the listener who's done searching for answers and is ready to begin the real journey of transformation. Membership is just $37 a month, and you can cancel anytime. And as a thank you for listening to this podcast, you can use coupon code PODCAST, that's all caps, PODCAST, at checkout for 20% off your first month. If you're ready to get started, check out the link below in the show notes or go to mysacredillness.com, enter the coupon code, and get started today. This is your next step. The path is here, and it's ready for you when you're ready to take it. Okay, let's get back to the podcast.
I'm going to share one story, Dr. Erin, and then I would love to hear some thoughts from you so we can dialogue here. I've worked with pregnant women with fetuses in utero, and they've turned. They were breech and they've turned, and preterm labor. So you're working literally with the energy even of a fetus, right? Or an adult that's got a disease. I say that the same message that is carried in a pimple is carried in a cancer. And I know that sounds awful to say to somebody who's dealing with cancer right now, but the truth is, I had all those callings. I had so many wake-up calls that I didn't wake up to for so long. So the invitation is to pay attention to any symptom, because it's just the body speaking to you. And truly, I think your soul calling you back to your truth and to your power and to your greatness and to the healer inside of you and the creator inside of you. And so whatever it is, don't dismiss it, because I did that for so long before my cancer diagnosis. But this young girl that I worked with, this is just an example of how powerful things can shift like this, right? Like the body, it can take some time, and that's okay. It took me some time to get through my healing because it was so deep. But it can also happen like this. So I had a girl who was 11 who had severe pain and scoliosis, and she was on narcotics. And her mom was like, can you work with her? I was like, well, let's give it a try. I do all my stuff over the phone or Zoom, but I got on and I chatted with her. We talked about an ice cube dissolving and if she would like to dissolve some ice cubes in her back. She didn't need to understand all the science. And it went back to holding on to other people's stuff. She was holding on to her parents' conflict, and she was holding on because she was only 11, and abnormal curvature that was visible with the naked eye. At the end of just one phone session, so this isn't woo-woo. This is not me touching her, doing anything, because I'm not the healer and I'm not the psychic. I would disempower anyone if I said that, right? We are all our own healers and our own intuitives. And the rest of us are just guides, right? Illuminating a path to help people to come back to their power. But I suggested something. I said, do you really want to carry everyone else's bricks in your back? And do you think that's your responsibility in this lifetime? And she said, no. I said, would it be okay to give those back to the people who need to work on it themselves? They need to build their own home. And she agreed and she understood. And then after one day, she was off all narcotics.
Oh my gosh.
Within a week, her mom's like, I can't see the curvature. It's gone. This was new to me too, right? It was many years ago. It was like a decade ago. And I was like, oh, well, stop looking for it. Like, don't look for the abnormal curvature. And then the pediatrician said her spine is completely normal. So she just chose in that moment, because her mind wasn't polluted with as many things that we as adults might have been polluted with, but she was just ready and she got it and she healed it and her body healed it. She did it. I didn't do it. We're not doing the healing work for other people. We're shining a light and helping them to see what they need to see if they're having trouble seeing it. And this is how fast things can heal. And this is also like Shenal's story, which took 11 years. Never give up.
Yes.
I've had somebody say, oh, I'm never going to get pregnant because she's been trying for 6 years and we worked together for a year. She's like, it's not meant to be. And I said, this is hard for people to hear too. And I love the listeners that are listening, whoever you are. And I'm giving you this as tough love. I said to her, is that a cop-out? I said, what if it can be, if that's what you want? I said, if you don't want to be pregnant, then you're not going to be pregnant. If you really want it and you're doing your work to clear anything in the way of it, emotionally, mentally, physically, at every level, you can be. And she now just celebrated her daughter's 1-year-old birthday. So, there is no force outside of us here to punish us and here to limit us. It's all coming from within us. And it's not just from this lifetime. It's what we've accumulated. It's what stories that we've adopted. And so those are the shedding and the releasing and the clearing that we're being called to do. So everything is possible. All things are possible.
I've heard so many stories of that level of, what we would call miracle. And my podcast opens with saying, we know so-called miracle cures exist. How does it happen? What is it to that whole process? And my hope too is that this stops becoming thought of as a miracle and just thought of as what's possible when you align your thinking and your way of being with your body and your illness in this way. Right now, it feels like a miracle because it's so not common, because we do just get stuck in that physical lane. And I love how you're talking about this, because I think it's so interesting how we all seem to follow, unless we are lucky like that little girl and find someone like you and get to just nip it in the bud. For a lot of us, it takes that longer journey to get to where we want to go. And we do start with the physical because that's the world we all are in. We're in this tangible, materialistic, can you measure it? Can you see it? Can you quantify it kind of world? And so we get stuck in that, just the diet, the pills, the this, the that. Like you said, all of those things can be helpful. And obviously, what you eat is going to impact your health. There's no reality in which that won't play a role. But when we just get stuck there and don't go further, that's where we can hit our head against a wall. For some of us, like you said, some people can heal just doing the physical piece. But I think the hard thing, but also the beautiful and hopeful thing for everyone to understand is there is no one way to do it. And so it's exactly what you just said. If what you're doing isn't working, it's not because it's not going to heal. It's not because you're fated to fail or to suffer or whatever that is. It's just that you're using a tool that's not going to take you the full way. And so you can build upon that tool. And there's something about that ice cube metaphor that has shifted the way that I feel in my own body about symptoms that come and go, you can really feel that power. I know for people who are sick, it doesn't feel exciting, but to me, it feels exciting, this potential of what is this energy that my body is holding in this dense form that wants to melt and release and become. It's this transmutation process. It's like, what is that potential waiting in your body? What is that stuckness that it wants to transform into? And it becomes this more beautiful and intelligent invitation versus this cruel, random failure that's cursing your life and ruining you. We have such a adversarial relationship with it when really, like you said, it's not the problem, it's the solution. It's the door that opens your entire life if you're willing to look at it that way. And I think that's, I'm sure we're both kind of in alignment with that mission being at the core. We have to change the way we think about it, because if we just see it as the enemy, as the problem, we don't get very far from there. And so I'd be curious to hear from you, because as you said, for you, it was 11 years because you had to find the tools, you had to find this language, you had to learn all of this yourself. For people who are hearing it now, where might they get hung up if it is truly simple in this idea of changing energy, changing what's stuck in our bodies? Where might people get stuck?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I feel that everything we experience in our life and in our reality is coming from within us first. So if we change what's within us, we get to change the reality, right? So the question you're asking is, sometimes you can get stuck in, because it's like, how do I change that? And there isn't one way, like you said. There can be many ways. But no matter what tools we use, and no matter which practitioners we're working with, there has to be a willingness to shift, not to see, but to change. So what does that mean? So if we can shift a thought from I am sick to what if I'm healing? That's a shift. Versus I'm sick and I need to do all this deep work. We're still stuck in that. So the shift is always about actually a shift. I teach it. I might as well teach it right now. It's complex when we think about 60 trillion cells, right? Then it's complex. But listen, we're not responsible for managing those 60 trillion cells, because there's a wisdom within us that we rely on when we close our eyes and we sleep at night. There is a wisdom in us. And so we're not responsible for the complex. We're actually responsible for the simple. And so it's on my Amazon Prime episode. And I speak about this because when I was in the depths of despair, I was very, very not well. I don't like to say sick. I was just not well. And I was in pain and I was on the couch crying. And I said, God, why is this so hard? Why is this so hard for me? Like, stage 1, why has this become so hard? And the message I received, because I heard a voice, is that we've got it all wrong. That we as humans have believed that we have to do the complex. And so we bypass the simple and we do the really hard stuff. We go through all the hard things. We do it the hard way. And I said, I don't understand. I was sitting in the couch, really, truly, this was happening. I was all alone in the house. Nobody was there. But there was a very clear voice and a very clear conversation that felt very divine. And, call it my highest self. Not like something outside of me, but something within the universe, within me. And this is when it all clicked for me. The voice said, I want you to take a breath. And I said, okay. So I took a deep breath in and I exhaled. And then the voice asked, was that hard? And I was like, no. I took a breath. And literally the word was precisely. The voice said, precisely. Your responsibility is to breathe in and breathe out. Pretty simple. And sometimes even automatic, right? Very automatic. My job, meaning the wisdom within the universe, the wisdom within the body, call it science, call it God, call it spirit, call it source, doesn't matter. There's an intelligence, a presence that knows, that says, you do the simple, I do the complex. That's the co-creation. But you have to do something. If you don't breathe, you're not going to be here. So you do co-create your healing. You have to participate. But the complex, like how the oxygen goes down through the trachea, into the bronchial tubes, down into the alveolar sacs for gas exchange, for 60 trillion cells to get oxygenated, none of us do that. So we have to participate in our healing by shifting thoughts, shifting emotions, shifting the way we take action. And when I say thoughts, emotions, and actions, those often are coming from old patterns, old belief systems, old traumas. So all of that also has to unravel and shift. But I teach it as a cup of tea. So you said, how can, when people get stuck, here's a cup of tea. The cup of tea is TEA. It's an acronym. The T stands for your thoughts. Now, it includes thoughts, beliefs, those kinds of things. The E stands for emotions, and the A stands for our actions. So here's an example. If I have a thought that my body is sick, my emotion is generally helplessness because I've given my power to be. So I've now got, I'm helpless, powerless. So the thought leads to an emotion of sorts, or many emotions, leads to fear because, oh my God, my body is sick. It's betraying me. It's abandoning me. It's hurting me. It's as if some force outside of me. So the thought is I'm sick. Well, what are the emotions around that? So we would process, we would say, okay, what are my thoughts around my challenge that I have right now? I have a thought that I'm sick. I have a thought that my body is failing. These are all thoughts. What are all the emotions? The T, the E. And then based on those thoughts and emotions, what actions am I taking? And if people can start looking at their current cup of tea, and then with every thought, can I shift that thought? So people will say, well, I am sick. No, you're actually not. I actually believe that you're healing. And people are like, are you kidding? I have cancer. Or I have diabetes. No, you're just misaligned internally, energetically. You're not sick. Something is misaligned and your body is so brilliant and so intelligent and it's calling you and saying, hey, hello, something's not aligned. And when you shift that, I can heal. Now, maybe you might help me with a supplement. Maybe you might help me with some extra nutrition. Maybe you may even help me with chemotherapy. I believe that all of this is an internal alignment that's being called to happen, right? So if we shift the thought, so if you just take a cup of tea and say, what are my current cups of tea that are old and stale and they're no good anymore? I don't even like the taste of it. And I want some new cups of tea. Well, if my thought is I'm sick, how do I change to what if I'm healing? And there's a lot of science behind asking a question versus a statement. Positive affirmations are great, but sometimes our subconscious rejects them fast because they don't feel true. I'm healed did not feel true to me because I was in pain. So to say I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed felt like a lie. I couldn't even accept it. So if people are in that state where they're hurting, instead of saying I am, and it's hard to accept, start with what if I am? What if I'm healing? And people will say, well, why would my body have this and that and the other thing? I said, well, what is a fever?
Right.
A fever doesn't feel good, but it is the body's healing mechanism. Diarrhea is the body's healing mechanism. It's intelligent. It's trying to get something out. When German knew medicine, he said that at the time that a cancer is diagnosed, you're actually in the healing state. But we've been told we're in the sick state. And everything we say is an energy that puts information into the quantum field and shows itself back to us. So if I keep saying I'm sick, I will make it true. Because not because it's woo-woo, but because it's the law of resonance. In the quantum field, what we put out energetically is what we bring back or what we experience. So people can take the complex and say, well, wait, what can I do that's more simple? Well, I could start changing my thoughts because that I can do. I can start changing my emotions. So instead of saying, oh, I'm not helpless, I'm powerful, we might say, wow, I felt really helpless around this diagnosis. And if you sit with it, you'll probably realize, wow, I actually felt powerless my whole life. And you'll realize that the illness or the issue is not present day. It's just showing us present day what's been stuck from before. So we might notice the pattern. When we're talking about shifting the cups of tea, we can ponder, where did that thought come from? what are these emotions really about? Have I lost my sense of power in my relationship? And now I feel powerless in a cancer. But the healing is not the cancer. The healing is that powerlessness that I've experienced in the relationship, which will then help me to release the ice blocks that are inside around powerlessness, which may feel like nothing related to cancer, but it's everything related to the cancer. And then it will allow the body to shift and heal. I know this can feel very complex to people, but you don't need to be bogged down with all of that. Just know that it's possible to begin shifting thoughts and emotions and then new actions. So what would be the new action? The new action might be that I speak up in my relationship. And we might not think it has anything to do with cancer, and it has everything to do with the cancer. If I'm powerless, why am I powerless? Because I'm not speaking up. I'm not expressing myself. Maybe if I start there, my body will actually start dissolving those ice cubes because it's taking action. We're basically rewiring our neural networks. But we don't need to know all that. We just need to know what we have to do. And we have to trust that there is a science behind this and that this is age-old wisdom. Healing trauma is difficult, but it's just us going through the process of healing. And I will always say that it's harder to stay stuck than it is to get unstuck. But it is effort to get unstuck. I mean, it is some work, but it's well worth it. Like, I could have given up at least 3 significant times in my life. And I'm so grateful that I'm here. And I'm so grateful that my life is now where it is. And I know that wherever any one of you are that is listening, that you too have this capacity right now to have a very different experience in life. You can call it miraculous, but miracles are co-created. The miracle that we're existing right now is co-created because we're choosing to breathe. So just coming back and accepting those miracles and learning to come into an alignment with that you deserve to be here, that you belong here, that there are no accidents in life, that all things are possible, and that this is a return home to the healer and the creator within.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. This journey helps you remember who you really are on so many levels, who you really are in terms of when you are fully expressive of your emotions and your thoughts and your needs, that kind of core self. But then who you are on that bigger level, which is that classic phrase of a spiritual being having a human experience. You have this amazing innate healing capacity. You can co-create anything. I love what you said about symptoms are not just physical. It's your bank account. It's your relationship. As you were saying that, I was recognizing all those external things healed in my journey as I was doing the inner work because they were reflections of that misalignment within myself. And I'm so interested to hear you speak about the chemotherapy piece because people can get really stuck too in it's all energy healing and nothing, like we can become very dogmatic about this stuff. And that's another big mission of this podcast is to say, again, there's no one way to do this. I love what you said about pills or energy. Everything we're doing it can be part of the journey. I'm a naturopathic doctor by training. I told you before we hit record, I don't really do anything with that anymore in that regard. But one of the tenets of naturopathic medicine is we're trying to give things to the body to help stimulate its self-healing capacity. And you work your way up a ladder, right? And so even naturopathic doctors, if we are practicing by our principles, we can start with diet and exercise and mind-body medicine and energetic stuff, but we can also climb up to surgery and pharmaceuticals and things like that if it is helping the body clear what is blocking the self-healing capacity. And so I kind of feel like that's where you're going with this. And I would love to hear you speak of that because that sounds like a key part of your journey as well.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. So we understood that the first few years of my journey was very physically focused, but still having recurrences. Then I got deep into the mind body and quantum physics, neuroplasticity, and that whole thing. But then I went even further and it went very much into the deep spiritual work. So I did a lot of the physical, then I went into deep spiritual. What I recognized at the end of those 10 and a half years before the actual final culmination of that journey was that I did everything physical and I didn't heal. Then I did everything spiritual. I still didn't finish healing. And the journey for me was the understanding that there is no separation between the two. There was a point where I was like, I am going to heal this cancer no matter what without medicine. And I was so hell-bent. I was so stuck in that resistance, which I realized only later that it was my ego.
Hmm.
And part of this journey is about returning to the greatness of our divine self and not allowing our survival ego self to be the master of our life, right? So I went from being so in control of my physical to being so in control of my spiritual. For me, part of the healing towards the latter piece, now by this time I was a 3+ stage of cancer, more advanced, far more advanced. And all along, if anyone would see me or understand this, I was very inward at that time, they would feel like I was dying.
Hmm.
And I looked like it. I was 85 pounds. There was some part of me that knew. And I think you speak about this in your work as well. But there's a knowing that despite the fear, this does not mean I wasn't afraid. Right? I was afraid. Despite the fear, there was something inside that I kept feeling and hearing and knowing, which is this: I'm healing something so deep I can't even know what it's about. So deep. And I was purging and releasing and healing. And so I still, even though anyone else would say I was very, very sick, I refused to align myself with the energy of sickness. I truly aligned myself only with the energy that I was healing. Even when a doctor would never say that I was healing at that time, they would be like I was dying. Anyway, at the tail end, I had some very strong intuitive guidance that it was time for me to surrender, which is the one thing I hadn't done. Not give up, but let go of control. I controlled the physical healing and I controlled the spiritual healing. And the integration was to remember that we are both physical and spiritual. And my mind was like, chemotherapy will kill me. Chemotherapy is no good because it killed my mom. And I had all these stories that it killed my mom, that it was terrible, that it was toxic. So when I first had low-dose chemotherapy, I nearly died. Like I was purple. And when you're brown, being purple is not easy. So, but I was purple. And so I realized that I had to shift my internal alignment to receive, and that I had the power to choose if that was going to serve me or harm me. And so when I became super aligned in realizing that I could take a sugar pill or I could go ahead and take this, I deserve to heal. And I deserve to receive the healing because I was a giver my whole life, hence breast cancer.
Yep.
And the receiving at the end of my journey actually was through infusions of chemotherapy. And all I could do is see it as the light of healing. So I realized that ultimately I am the healer. And it wasn't everything that was being given to me. It was my relationship to it that was misaligned. And so there's so much in that. It's not easy to share in such a little time, but I did go through extensive surgery. The tumor dissolved. They thought maybe I might live a year. I'm here years later, many, many years later. And they tell me now, you're a miracle. Like, it's unreal. Because in 5 infusions instead of 12, the tumor was gone. It was just a massive tumor. Gone. And then they took a lot of lymph nodes. There was no cancer in any of them. But I surrendered. Like, I was fighting everything to heal. And I needed to stop fighting. And I needed to remember that I needed to come into alignment and accept that I can heal, like no matter what is given, no matter what it is. So all things are possible. And in my journey, the very thing I hated, I had to come back and make peace with. And I ultimately healed.
That's incredible.
So yeah, anything is possible. And I just hope that anyone on the other side of this that's listening is inspired and filled with hope, no matter where they are and no matter the level of pain. That pain in the body is always pain somewhere else first.
Yes. Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. And that's the ice cube, right? It's saying, what did that previous pain, whether from this lifetime or whatever, what is it solidified in your body and how can you take that and melt it and let it evaporate? That's it. Yeah. And I think what you said is so key. And I want to highlight this, that the cancer is the body healing. And this is another part of naturopathic medicine as we talk about, again, this innate healing capacity. A symptom is a sign that the body is trying to get back to its baseline, but something is stopping it. It's like something hitting up against a barrier over and over. And then the more it hits, the louder it's going to get because there's more pressure building behind it. Where it shows up in the body is definitely, I think your story is so interesting how there was no genetic thing, but yet look at your maternal line manifesting cancer in the female organs, right? There's something to that storyline that keeps showing up in the same place. And so, yeah, clients I work with, where it shows up is just always so fascinating because it's so telling about where and why and how. I think something so important for people to hear is a symptom is not like a downhill fall. It's your body trying to rise back up to where it was. It's trying to get back. And it can't because of those ice cubes, because there's something is frozen there and stuck. And so it's not about trying to pull your body up. It's like that efforting you're talking about. It's not all this work we have to do. We just have to melt the ice cubes so that your body can do what it does to get back up. I think just such an important paradigm shift. Symptoms are not the sign of a body failing. It's the sign of a body trying to heal. And so it's our job to listen to what that symptom is, to say, okay, thank you. Thank you for getting my attention. Thank you for helping me see that something was going on that maybe was trying to get my attention before in more subtle ways through that relationship or through that little pain in my shoulder that I could just take a Tylenol and ignore. And now it's louder and I can't ignore it anymore. I think about my own journey. I was a little kid. I had stomach aches. Obviously, as a little child, I was not in any position to be doing any healing, but my body was saying, we're holding stuff, we're holding stuff, we're holding stuff. And then eventually it manifested as full-blown Crohn's disease in my gut. And I couldn't override it anymore, which was my major coping skill was just like, shut it down, ignore it. Everything's fine. Smile, move forward. Crohn's disease is like, sorry, we can't, it's almost like the body is saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this to you, but we cannot hold this for you anymore. There's no space. There's no way that this is not going to start to cause issues. And so when you can listen to that symptom as the final call, it changes everything. And something else you said that I wanted to highlight too was the doctors would have said that you were not healing, that you were dying. And that's also part of this mindset shift is our bodies are healing and there is this death that's trying to happen in a sense, right? There's a death of the old self, a death of the old way. I think we resist that because death is scary and painful. And obviously we don't want to actually die, but it's that interesting crossroads of like, your body will die or yourself can die. Which do you choose? You're being asked to allow a part of yourself to die so that a new part of you can live. And it's terrifying to do that because there are very good reasons why we are not just that person anyway. There's reasons we're holding in our emotions. There's reasons we're carrying those ancestral stories. I think it's fair for us to be angry that we have to be the ones to heal it. But it's also, I always think of it as you're the chosen one. You're the one who's being given this amazing gift of you get to heal this story. You get to be the one to transmute this energy. You get to be the one who changes everything in your lineage and in your life. It's a big gift. It's a heavy gift. It's a scary gift. It's an uncomfortable gift, but it is a gift. And again, I know these things we're saying are hard to digest, but I think it's also really important that we start changing our mindset in that way.
Oh, absolutely. Beautifully stated. We are being called back to something great. And I really think there are a few programs that are really, really deep that don't allow people to physically heal well or easily. And one is the program of suffering, that somehow we believe we've made a mistake and we deserve to be punished or we deserve to suffer. And it could have been something you did when you were 18 years old or something you did when you were 5 or something that your soul has carried forward. But healing any form of alignment internally with suffering or punishment means we have to heal guilt. I have found that even when we shift thoughts and emotions and actions, if there are programs of suffering or programs of punishment, healing lags because we have to shift the energy of suffering and punishment into a state of love and acceptance so that we can receive the healings. And so a lot of times people will have worked and done a lot of work around, oh yeah, okay, so I'm healing my body. Okay, so I'm doing this. And they shift those layers, but sometimes underneath there are some really deeply rooted layers of punishment, self-punishment, suffering, disconnect from our own spirit and source. These deep, deep layers. that when those are healed, they really accelerate the ability to heal the mind, body, the bank account, the relationships.
Yes. I think of this patient I worked with. He is taking all the supplements. He's doing all the things, doing everything right. And we had this conversation a few months ago where I said, are you receiving any of it? Are you allowing yourself to receive any of that as care, as things that are helping you to heal? And he visibly got very tense and uncomfortable. And he was like, no, I don't feel comfortable letting anything in. I don't think I deserve it. I don't think I am worthy of it. He just didn't trust letting things in for various reasons. And like, I think that's the key, is that, yes, the surrender, the letting go of control, the trusting, those are such challenging. They're challenging, and they really go against our nervous system wiring, which is to predict and to know. So we have to really acknowledge that and to lean into it anyway. Because yeah, if we're not opening ourselves up to receiving into possibility and to imagining something else to be possible, then that's the roadblock. That's the ice cube, that layer that's not going to thaw.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a really great question that all of the listeners can ask themselves if they're dealing with any form of illness is to really thoughtfully pay attention to what needs are being met by this illness.
Mm-hmm.
What needs are being met by this illness? So people will be like, well, I don't want to be sick. Oh, but have you wanted rest? Have you wanted, but don't give it to yourself? Have you wanted somebody near you to love you and you didn't know how else to do it? Because maybe if, not like we say, I want to be sick and then they'll love me, but we unconsciously are the creators of our reality. So if we're feeling that somebody's not loving us, if we're feeling that we don't know how to get rest, if we just want a break, but we don't know how to take it, there's so many needs that can get met. We don't know how to ask for help. When I'm teaching illness to wellness, that is a big one. And so I thought it would be good for us to let the listeners really sit with those questions. Is there a need that's being met unconsciously by this illness? Because until I realize I don't want that need to be met this way, and I want to take rest even if I'm not sick, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to learn how. I'm willing to ask for help. I'm willing to set boundaries. I'm willing to say no. I don't need the illness to do all that for me, because that was a big part of my life and my healing was I didn't know how to receive. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to express myself. So the illness met a lot of needs. I was resting, but not in the way I wanted to, being loved and attended to instead of me being the one attending to and loving. I was the recipient of that. And I had to heal all those layers. I really did.
Yeah. And it's not easy. And I'm so grateful that you were able to receive that chemo. And it's interesting how it was the last thing you ever would have wanted to receive. But it's something about that feels medicinal in and of itself, where it's like, okay, I have to stop trying to control things and I have to let in the very thing that I thought was the worst thing ever. There's something about that shift.
It was I think it really was received. And I had zero side effects from it.
Wow.
Zero side effects from high doses of chemotherapy. And we did some physical things to support it as well. But yeah, it's our mind is so powerful and our body is so intelligent and our soul is so wise that when we let all of that do its work, I mean, we are really walking miracles. We really, really are. And nothing is wrong with us and we're not broken. We're just magnificent.
Yes. And illness is part of that magnificence, trying to make you even more magnificent, right? It's trying to get you to go even further with it, take it further, take it bigger. I mean, not that it has to be big or loud. It's just be more fully yourself, feel more fully yourself, feel more safe and alive. And all of the things that we are inherently deserving and worthy of when we come into this world, it's getting back to that place. And I ask everyone this who I bring onto the podcast, which is, who is your illness, or who did your illness invite you to become? And I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I love what you had said, that you didn't heal the cancer, it healed you. So maybe even, who did your cancer heal you to become?
Such a beautiful question, and one anyone and everyone should answer for themselves, even if they're in the journey of healing. Who are you becoming through this? I think I have returned and am continuing to return, because I'm expanding in this to the most powerful version of myself, the most loving version of myself, I really feel like I am remembering that I am a healer and a creator, and that I'm not separate from the wisdom in the universe. Like, I'm not alone, I'm not separate. And so I feel safer in my body, I feel safer in life than I did even way before cancer. I realize now that it wasn't the cancer that made me not feel safe. I never felt safe. So that was part of the healing. I feel like I'm probably the most powerful, loving version of myself, and I'm continuing to evolve. I want to be able to work with people on quantum healings like this. That's what we're doing. When the pain in the shoulder goes away after 2 years of being there, it can happen like that. The dissolving can be that fast when we can shine light on it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's who I've become and will continue to become more.
Yes. And you said it so beautifully too, that if we are open, we're always going to evolve. As you were saying, I'm healing, but actually it's just this openness to continue to evolve. And I think that's it. That's the perfect metaphor, is this feeling that in my body, it's like the ice cubes are melted and it's just this constant flowing, evolving change. You're just able to move with life. Healing puts this sort of like, you're going from here to here, and that's not it. It's just this constant forward motion and change. And you're just open to that. Every guest I have on here, I have this like, okay, we have to follow up in 6 months or 2 years or whatever, because I just want to keep seeing how life continues to evolve. Because everyone who goes on these healing journeys, they've melted those ice cubes. They're in this beautiful co-creative dance in their life, and their life is incredible now. And if that was it, that would be amazing. But you can just feel there's this energy and momentum, and it's obviously moving in amazing and beautiful directions. And it's so inspiring to see how illness is the catalyst to that, not the thing that ruined it or got in the way. It's the reason that this door is now open in your life.
Oh, for sure. For sure. The gift, I say that every illness is a gift that's so hideously wrapped that nobody wants to open it.
Yes.
But it's the one that's got the best stuff inside.
Yes.
It's just got the best stuff. If we'll just unwrap the hideously wrapped gift called illness or any symptom.
Exactly. Oh man, we could talk for hours. I know we only scratched the surface of your story and your experiences, but there's so much here. I'm going to come back and listen to this episode many times. There's just so much to sit with and let percolate, and so many little gems. Truly, if people could just sit with and work with the things that you gave them in this podcast, things will shift for them, because you gave them everything they need to start this process. And so I really appreciate you sharing your story and your experience, because nothing speaks to us more than someone who's been in the trenches. It's so much more powerful when someone has been in that world and has moved through it and learned from it and changed because of it. So I'm so grateful for you sharing your story. I'm grateful for everything you learned from it and how you're taking that medicine and healing others. You're passing it on and sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing this with us today. I'm so deeply grateful for you.
You're so welcome, Dr. Erin. You're amazing. I love what you stand for. And I do really hope that every listener will feel inspired to take some new action to change or shift something today, truly, because they can. And things can shift faster than we realize, but we're not needing to be attached to the timeline.
Right. Yes. Stay open to the journey. That's where it all is. It's how it unfolds.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid of, we often are afraid you don't want to give away your power to anyone. I would encourage people to never give away their power. I did. I went to healers thinking they were going to heal me. And in one moment in time, a healer told me in session 3 that I was going to die.
Oh my gosh.
She said, I can't work with you anymore. You're going to die. And I was, a frail 85 pounds. So it felt kind of scary. Kind of scary would not be right. I was terrified, but it was probably the biggest awakening I had in that moment. And after I hung up, I said, nobody will ever have the ability to tell me what's going to happen to me. I will determine. And so it wasn't the ego, it was my power, my divine power, our God-given power to not give away our power to others. So seek help, but don't give away your power. Seek guidance, seek people who will mentor you through, because, whether you're working with already Dr. Erin or those that are working with me, you seek a mentor or a guide because it's so nice to receive. but never give away your power. You're the healer. You're the creator. It's all in you. The best guides are the ones that will take you back to that place.
Absolutely. Yes, they should be empowering you to never need them again. And so if there's something that keeps you stuck with them or scared or dependent, that's a red flag, because that's not the medicine that will get you there. And speaking of working with you, I will link all of your social media links down below for folks to find you, to get in touch with you. Please tell us about your work, your books, so that people know how to work with you, find you, etc.
Okay. So my website is my full name, www.shenalarimilli.com. So you can go to my website, email me. Don't ever hesitate. I don't like to be hard to find or hard to get to, so feel free to email. There are free resources on the website. There is a free ebook that talks about the 7 keys to reclaiming your power. It's the 7 main things that I feel were a part of my journey to heal. And so please download the free ebook. I do private work, private sessions. There's so much on the website, so take time and peruse. And yes, follow me on any socials along with Dr. Erin, and we hope that people like us will help transform many, 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 many lives together. And the book, I'm so excited. It's the working title. I have a publisher now, and this is my heart and soul. I have a rough manuscript. It's done, but it'll come out later next year, 2026. I'd love for you to follow me on that journey. So, find me on social media, find me on LinkedIn, find me on YouTube. And the name of the book right now, and I'm always open to suggestions, is Shift Your Energy, an inner journey to transform your life from cell to soul.
Ooh, I love that.
So can't wait. And I'm so, so grateful for this time together. I'm grateful for your work. And I had so much fun. We could talk forever.
I know.
We could talk forever.
Well, and now we're connected. So we will be in conversation, I'm sure. And I'm super excited for your book. I know you co-authored 3 other books, and so those are available on your website, I'm sure. But this one sounds like it's more your personal story. Is that correct?
This is the real deal. The other ones are nice, and they were done to serve others who were building books. But this is mine, and it's coming, and I can't wait. But the free ebook has a lot of golden nuggets in it. It's a simple read, but it's powerful. So people ought to really do that. And I'm available. I love talking to people. I love being with people. And actually, one last thing. If they do sign up for my newsletter, Shenal's Shares, they will see twice a month I run a free community healing on Zoom.
Okay.
And it's free because so many people can't afford private work, but they deserve to heal as well. And so it's for anyone who wants to create anything. It's 30 minutes on Zoom. It's called the Infinite Power Circle. And they can receive in my newsletters the updates of when that is. I love doing that because we hold the frequency together in an amplified fashion of healed and done. The feeling and the frequency of all of that while they're doing their work, and they come into a greater alignment with that outcome. I would welcome any of your listeners to join us at the Infinite Power Circle because it is a free community healing service.
Thank you. Well, and I can just feel your heart through everything that you're offering, to the way that you so freely offer your expertise and your knowledge. And I'm so grateful for you sharing that with us and sharing these resources freely. So everyone run, don't walk to the website, get signed up for the newsletter, get on that healing circle. Shenal, thank you so much. Thank you so much again for this powerful conversation. So many things to take away from this conversation. And I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful for your journey, for your healing, and grateful to be connected to you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed and beautiful day, and healings to everyone that's listening.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sacred Illness Podcast. If you find this information shared here inspirational and educational, please share it with those you think would benefit from this work. To take this work deeper yourself, check out our website, www.aurorasomatic.com, where you can explore our coaching, community, and course options. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, where new content is coming out all the time, intended to inspire, awaken, and help you deepen your relationship with yourself, your life, and your world. We'll see you next time.